Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Lesson 1, Part 2 of PLAR English 2022-2023. Once again, really happy to be teaching this course. It's a brand new adventure for me. I was a public librarian for many years and have been a teacher as well in a few of my past lives, but I've been out of the teaching game for about 10 years, so it's really exciting for me to be back in it. So I'm really excited to be teaching this course and very excited to be joining all of you today. So I spent a little bit today working on some graphics, so I'm very proud of this this one right here featuring our lovely Wausau logo, and I'm going to walk you through some key information, okay? So this is the first week of classes in Term 1A. Really hope everything's going well for everybody out there. I know some of you might be only taking one course, some two, possibly even three. So for everybody out there listening, everybody watching on YouTube, thanks for tuning in. We meet every Tuesday and Wednesday from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. That is Central Standard Time. And I'm asking that everyone please email me, phone, or send me a Facebook message, and to do this to myself and to your other WASA teachers so we know you've received your course material. And if you haven't, we'll get that to you as soon as we can. So it's really important that you make contact with your teachers, and myself included. I'm going to put up my contact information so you know exactly how to do that. So there are many ways that you can access this content, okay? So you can call in. So if you call into these numbers, you can listen on the radio. If you're in Sioux Lookout or nearby, you can tune in to 91.9 FM. If you have Bell ExpressVu, channel 972 at home, you can watch or listen. You can check out the online radio stream by following this link right here. And you can also tune in through Zoom by entering that link into your browser. You can also just visit nnec-on-ca.zoom.us, and you'll see a list of all of the classes you can take, and you'll see this one, English PLAR, when you do that. And you can always watch these lectures on YouTube. You can't watch the lectures on YouTube live, but you can watch them the next day. So every day, we'll have our Tuesday night class, and then Wednesday morning, I'll post the link I'll post the video. You'll see right now there's only one video on Laverty Wausau, so you want to search for that. You want to search for Laverty Wausau if you want to find me. So if you just type Laverty Wausau into the search bar on YouTube, you will find my channel, and you will find the PLAR English lessons. Right now we have Lesson 1, Part 1 up there, and tomorrow morning we'll have Lesson 1, Part 2. And at the end of the course, every one of them will be there, so you can go back and review them, which will be helpful come test time. All right, so let me get that out of there. So there are a few ways you can submit your work for this, for PLAR English. You can give it to your DEC or scan and email it or fax it. You can scan or email it to this email address right here. You can take photos with your phone, email it to myself, or send it to me on Facebook Messenger, or use your phone to scan your work and then email it or send it to me directly. So you've got a few ways to get that work to me, okay? So there's several ways that you can access several ways you can submit your homework. So you just find the way that works for you. We accept it in multiple ways. And with that being said, we're going to jump right into our lesson. All right, so yesterday we went over the study guide, and I encourage everybody to review the study guide in its entirety, read the whole thing, make sure you're familiar with the course, what to expect, and then I'd like you to jump right into lesson 1. So lesson 1, it's a 71-page PDF, and I hope you all have it in front of you today, and if you don't, that's why you need to reach out to me immediately so we know, so I know that you have it, and you can get started working on the questions. Okay, so lesson 1 includes key questions. So there are 9 key questions, okay, at the end of the document, okay? You need to submit these 9 key questions. Today we're going to go through the summary questions together and work our way through this lesson. So we spent a lot of time talking about parts of speech yesterday. So the parts of speech are, again, there's 9 of them. I'll just briefly recap them. We have nouns. We have pronouns. We've got adjectives. We have, see if I can remember them all. We have adverbs. We have conjunctions. We've got interjections. And we have articles. We have prepositions. And we have one more that's eluding me now. We have nouns, pronouns, adjectives, adverbs, conjunctions, interjections, articles, prepositions, and of course, maybe the most important one, the verbs, okay? So we need to know what all 9 of these mean. And that's gonna help us answer these first 3 key questions. So most of today's class, I'm gonna focus on these 3 key questions, okay? Nouns and pronouns, verbs, and the parts of speech. So you have to know the definition of all of these 9 parts of speech, and that's gonna help you answer these 3 key questions. And then with time permitting, we're going to go into capitals, punctuations, and sentences. And then next week, we're going to get into some fun stuff. We're going to get into writing, editing. But for now, we're focusing on these first 3 key questions. And if we have time, I want to get into 4 and 5, capitals and punctuation. So we need to know these parts of speech. And let me just consult my handy list. Okay, so throughout your lesson, you're going to find these support questions, okay? This opening lesson has, I believe, 17 support questions. And each support question is there to help you with the key question. So once again, you know, we do support questions together. So we do the support questions together. And you do the key questions on your own. So we're going to work on these support questions together, and you are going to work on the key questions on your own. We sort of rushed through this support question last night, so I'd like to spend a little bit of time on this. So we have to underline the nouns in this, oops, there we go. Let's get rid of that. we have to underline the nouns in the following paragraph. Key question 1 is going to ask you to do the same. So we have to identify nouns in the following paragraph. So we can't do that unless we have a working definition. So a noun, and the most basic definition is, of course, a person, a place, or a thing. So these are people, places, or things. And thing can be something we can hold on to, like a basketball, the smartboard pen in my hand, a pair of shoes. So tangible things that we can feel and we can touch. And things are also ideas. So like the, democracy, or anger, or a dream, something that you can talk about. It's a thing in the world, but you can't touch it and feel it. So it's all of those things. So with this first support question, if we run through there, I'm just going to go through this with you and highlight all of the nouns, okay? So we have people, past, future. So in that first sentence right there, we have 3 nouns, okay? We have people, past, and future. Those are and I'm going to identify them, okay? We've got 3 nouns right there. The word a is an article. Of is a preposition. Tell, that's a verb when you tell someone. Now me, this is a pronoun, okay? It's a special noun, so it refers to someone specific, or it stands in the place of someone. So me and we, these are special kinds of nouns. So we have also a lot of people could be could also be considered a noun. But these are my proper nouns here. My nouns. I have people, past. I have future. I have mistake. We have the past. The past. Future. And yesterday I brought your attention to a yes, sorry, I lost my place. So we're looking for persons. So in this case, this passage, it doesn't reference any people and specifically. It does mention I, but again, I is a pronoun that refers to this author, John. We have lots of verbs in here, but we're just looking for things. We're not looking for actions. We're not looking for descriptions. We're not looking for anything else. We're just looking for things, okay? And if I won't give you the answers, but I'll give you a couple of hints here. If we go all the way down to and if you go to the end of your page, the key questions start on page 55. And key question 1 is asking you to circle the 12 nouns in the following sentences. So anytime you're writing a test or anytime you're doing an assignment, you want to pay close attention to the instructions, right? So you've got to find 12 of these things, okay? So if you're looking for 12, you want to keep a count going, either on a sheet of paper or on the side of the page. Make sure you get all 12. So you've got to guess. You can't circle 14 words. Circle the 12 that you think are nouns. And I'll give you a couple of hints, right? So I'll show you some verbs, okay? So crossed, that's an action. That's something you can do. That word's a verb. Same with downloaded, another verb. We have found. That's another verb. Going. These are verbs, right? So we're looking for the things in this sentence, not the actions, not where it happened. We're looking for things in this sentence, okay? Just people, places, or things. So again, that's, people. Let's get rid of him. Oh, yeah. You get out of there. There. So we're looking for people, places, or things. And the only thing you wanna pay attention to is, remember, words like I, my, she, he, they, those are pronouns. Okay? So when we go down to key question number 1 is broken into 2 parts. So there's key question part 1, and part 2 is asking for pronouns. Okay? So pronouns are things like, I just mentioned them, I, we, they, she. They are special nouns that refer to a specific person or a group of people. So that's what a pronoun is, and we'll zoom back up to our support questions here. I'm just getting the hang of this smartboard. I think I've got it figured out. So a little review, right? So the noun is the name of a person, a place, or a thing. Okay, that's a key definition. Sorry, that's a key part of the definition that I missed. So a noun is the name of a person, right? So Mike. That's a noun. That is a proper noun. So a proper noun is a kind of noun, but that's what it is. So it's my name. So there's common nouns. These are ordinary things. There are proper nouns. That's a specific name. Let's see, lowercase m-a-n. That would be a common noun. Mike, capital M, Mike, is a proper noun. Lowercase man is a common noun. We have collective nouns that refer to a group or a people, or a group or an organization. So those are our different kinds of nouns, okay? So, and those are the main ones: common nouns, proper nouns, collective nouns. And so a collective noun would be, a band. That would be a collective. My favorite band is, Guns N' Roses. That would be an example of a proper noun, right? So that would be a proper noun because it's the name of a specific, a proper collective noun. And then the other one we have is the abstract nouns. And abstract nouns are ideas or feelings. Things that we can't hold on to or touch or smell or access with our 5 senses, but they are ideas in the world. We talked about the idea of, say, me and my sister can go fishing, and fishing in that sense is a verb, but I can write an article about fishing, or I can tell people about fishing. So I can tell them about what it's like to go fishing, but that's not the same thing as actually sitting in a boat and fishing. So there's the idea of fishing, and there is you actually fishing. So nouns refer to one person, a place, or a thing, and you need to know how to make the plural of a word. And if you go through your lessons here, they give you some examples on how to do that, on how to change a singular noun to a plural noun. I really recommend that you rely upon a dictionary for doing something like this. And the dictionary I use is dictionary.com. It's the most useful one. And if you want to search in one of those words, like let's take the word leaf, for example. And it's going to tell you a lot of things. It's going to tell you what kind of word it is. In this case, leaf is a noun. It's going to tell you how to write the plural, leaves. So it's going to give you a lot of useful information. So if you're not sure, just go to dictionary.com. They also have a mobile app version, so you can just download the app and do the same thing. It's free. And so, like a lot of words in English, the word leaf can be a noun, but it can also be, a verb, to put forth leaves, to turn pages, to leaf through a book. So if you leaf through a book, the word leaf is now a verb, but it's also a noun. It all depends on the context. It all depends on how you use it in a sentence, okay? So I strongly recommend you use dictionary.com. It's a very useful app and a website for telling you what a word, if you want to know what part of a speech a word is, dictionary.com, the first entry right there, it's always going to tell you what part of speech. Is it a noun, adjective, adverb? Is it a conjunction, interjection, an article? What is it? The very first word is going to be italics. It'll tell you it's a noun, and here's how to make it a plural. So use the dictionary. And that's going to help you answer these support questions. So how do you make these things capitals? And with English, there's a lot of rules that we can follow. Usually we just add an S to things. So that's the way it usually works. If we can add an S to it, that's what we usually do. But if the word ends in an S already, or a Y, or a CH, then there's some different rules, and you just have to go through all the rules and to figure them out. Okay, so now we're on to pronouns. And a pronoun is a word that stands in place of a noun. So we covered this a little bit yesterday. So the car spluttered and squealed, and then the car just quit. We're going to take that out, and we're going to change that to it. So inanimate objects are things that aren't alive. So things like cars and pens and shoes and basketballs and laptops and cell phones. We refer to those things as it. If something has a gender, if it's a he or a she, then we usually use those words to stand in for them. In this case, cars get us where we need to go, but cars cause pollution. We don't use it, we say they. Because there's more than one car. We're talking about all of them, okay? So, and this is to avoid repetition in writing. That's why the pronoun was invented. It was to avoid repetition and to just make the language a little clearer. So, but a pronoun always has to refer back to a noun, right? So usually you have this, like the subject of a sentence will be, I bought a car. It is my first one. And so my is a pronoun that refers back to this, right? So it's the same person, right? So it refers back to the same person. So there's personal pronouns. So personal pronouns are used in place of persons or things. So we say I to talk about ourselves, you to talk about someone else. This is, I, we call that the first person. You is the second person. So they're words that are used in place of persons or things. So when I'm talking to you, I don't refer to myself as Mike. I don't say Mike is teaching a course right now. I say I am teaching a course right now. So the I is standing in place of Mike. So it's kind of like, I come first. So there's me, that's the proper noun. So there's Mike, that's a proper noun. And then we can use the word I, and that's a pronoun. The pronoun I is referring to Mike. So when I say I mean me. I mean Mike. So that pronoun refers to I. Now, if someone's talking about me, they might say he. He is teaching a course right now. So again, Mike, the he refers back to Mike. So you could say Mike is teaching the course right now. He is a really good teacher. I hope that's what everybody's saying. But you see how Mike is the proper noun, and then all of these pronouns refer back to me. So pronouns that work for me are I, he. If you were having a conversation with me, you would say, how are you doing, Mike? Are you okay? And the you would refer back to Mike. So Mike's a proper noun, and there's several pronouns that we can use to talk about who I am. So those are personal pronouns. And then we have possessive pronouns, and they show ownership. So mine, yours, his, hers, its, ours, yours, theirs. We're going to get into a lot of common mistakes with the English language. There we go. Finally figuring out this smartboard. One of the most commonly misspelled words in the English language, I would say maybe the most commonly misspelled word in the English language would be this guy right here. Let's erase that. This little letter, this little word right here, it's, okay? So this is the same as saying it is. But it's, without the apostrophe, is something that belongs to it. So if I said, for example, like, I could say, my car lost its wheel. This pronoun right here refers back to my car. So it's wheel, right? So it's the wheel that belongs to my car, okay? And then to use the word it is. So my car lost its wheel. I could say it's going to be a long day because my car lost its wheel. So it's going to be a long day. It is going to be a long day, the same thing. But just a quick lesson on that one. More on that further on in the lesson, but it's a good one to know. So pronouns, some of them they're used in place of a person, a place, or a thing, or they help us show ownership. What belongs to who, okay? Okay, moving right along. So there's many different kinds of pronouns. There's relative pronouns, words such as who, whom, which, that. And these words help us understand something about a noun or a pronoun. So it gives us more information about a person. So David, who is only 8 years old, is playing in a band. So it's this who refers back to David. We have, oh, here we go. We have interrogative pronouns. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Interrogative pronouns. They are used to ask questions. Who, whom, whose, which, where, what. So these are the questions. So anytime you see one of those, that is a pronoun. So what is the right answer? Whom should I speak with? Whose shoes are these? Which way should we go? What did we learn? What did we learn today? Those are interrogative pronouns. So I mentioned yesterday that a lot of this, you just know it naturally. A lot of these rules we just learn by hearing other people talk. And we learn these rules by listening to the people in our family, in our communities. And a lot of the time, like, nobody's really sat us down and broken this down for you. Things like interrogative and pronominal adjectives, these are very strange words that we don't use in everyday discussion, but we use them all the time. I use the analogy of being a musician. A lot of musicians can't read sheet music, but guess what? They do a lot of technical stuff, and that technical stuff has names for it. That's called music theory. It doesn't mean they can't do it. It just means they don't know the technical words to describe it. So I think you know these rules, but now we're just getting names to them, okay? So if a word is followed by a noun, they become interrogative adjectives or pronominal adjectives. So which animal made that sound? So if you see a noun right after one of these words, it's probably an adjective and not a pronoun. Very technical stuff, but very useful to know. Demonstrative pronouns, they stand for and refer to a noun. Those are stolen goods. That's the guy that did it. This is my favorite show. Those people over there are the best. You know, these shoes are mine, right? So, and that's example of an adjective again. So if it's after this, you know, this hat is mine. Those are stolen goods. So they stand for and refer to a noun. So those are stolen goods. So in this case, the word those might refer back to, you know, a pair of shoes. So we could be saying, you know, last night at the store, a pair of shoes got stolen. Yeah, last night a pair of shoes got stolen. Those are stolen goods, right? So, or we're missing a pair of shoes. Those are stolen goods. So the word those stands in place for a noun or a phrase that refers to it, right? So this hat is mine. So this becomes an adjective and not a pronoun because it's referring to this specific hat. And the word this doesn't stand in. It's not standing in for a noun. The noun is right here. That's not working. Hat is a noun. This is an adjective. See, I'm even confusing myself just going through this again. So just take your time with this one. The golden rule in this case is that the pronoun always stands in for a noun. The pronoun is taking the place of a noun. In this example right here, the word this is not standing in place for a noun. Hat is the noun. This is modifying the word hat. It's telling us which hat it is. It's this hat. This hat is mine. We have reflexive and emphatic pronouns. These are words like himself, yourself, ourselves, themselves. And here we go. Here's our master list of pronouns. So there's a lot of them. I would say, the most common ones you're going to come across are words like him and her and I and my and she and our and ours. These are the most common ones we come along. that we encounter in our in our day-to-day conversations. Words like thou and thyself are very old-fashioned. I can't remember someone using the word thou or thyself in conversation. They're very old-fashioned English, but they are still words in the English language. And then there's, wheresoever, whereto, yon and yonder and ye. Very old-fashioned words. They're going back hundreds and hundreds of years. They don't really get used that much in conversation or in print. They're kind of rare. You don't see them that much, but they are still words in the English language. They are pronouns. And every one of these pronouns, they all refer back to a noun, right? So they stand in place of a noun, okay? That's the main rule, okay? So all of these pronouns are linking back to a proper noun or an idea or something else, okay? So that's our list of pronouns. So when you're answering key question number 2 and it's asking you to identify the pronouns in those sentences, those pronouns are going to be on this list. You're going to find them somewhere on that list, okay? So that's where you're going to, if you think something's a pronoun, double check it. If you don't find it on this list, it's probably not a pronoun. So keep that in mind, okay? So that's a good rule to keep in mind. So here we go. We've got let's try one of these summary questions. We're going to replace the nouns in the following paragraph with pronouns. One thing I couldn't stress enough is that it's always beneficial, it's always helpful to read things out loud. This becomes especially helpful when you're writing your papers, when it comes time for you to write sentences, when it comes time for you to give me a paragraph or several paragraphs. If you read your stuff out loud, you're going to catch mistakes. I've taken a lot of writing courses in my life, and that's probably the best advice I've ever received, is to read things out loud. And you might be embarrassed to do it if people are around, so you might want to find a quiet place where nobody can hear you. But it's really helpful when you read stuff out loud because you catch mistakes. So I'm going to read this out loud, and you'll see what I mean. So, last summer, Mary and Paul visited Mary and Paul's Aunt Charlene in Thunder Bay. Aunt Charlene took Mary and Paul to the exhibition. Mary and Paul had a lot of fun on the rides. Mary didn't go on some of the rides because Mary thought the rides were too scary. In the afternoon, Mary, Paul, and Aunt Charlene went for lunch at the mall food court. The food court was a busy place, but Mary, Paul, and Aunt Charlene found a place to sit. Now, that's not extremely confusing, but it is a little bit confusing, and it's not the way people talk. So when you have a conversation, you use pronouns all the time. Nobody sat you down when you were 4 years old or when you were 5 and said, hey, look, this is a pronoun. You use it in place of a noun. You just figured that out by listening to people. So when you write, you want to kind of do the same. So last summer, Mary and Paul visited Mary and Paul's Aunt Charlene in Thunder Bay. So the fact that it's Mary and Paul's aunt, that tells me that Mary and Paul are probably brother and sister because they both have the same aunt. Or they're husband and wife and they both just call her their aunt. In any case, it's an aunt that belongs to both of them. So I'm going to change Mary and Paul to their. Last summer, Mary and Paul visited their Aunt Charlene in Thunder Bay. Aunt Charlene took Mary and Paul to the exhibition. So if we cut out Aunt Charlene, we're going to replace that to she. Now we know that she refers to Aunt Charlene. The word she could refer to Mary, but I think if you told someone this, if you were having a conversation with someone, they would figure it out based on, we've just heard about Aunt Charlene, and we're going to change her to she. So she refers back to Aunt Charlene. So she took them. She took them to the exhibition. Mary and Paul, they had a lot of fun on the rides. Mary didn't go on some of the rides. We could change that to them. So again, all of these pronouns, I'm writing the pronouns on top, and what I'm crossing out is what they're standing in place of. So instead of saying the rides, I say them. Mary didn't go on some of them because she thought they were too scary. In the afternoon, Mary, Paul, and Aunt Charlene. In the afternoon, they went for lunch at the mall food court. It was a busy place, but they found a place to sit. There could be a little bit of confusion here in terms of what they refers to, in terms of what they means. They could mean Mary and Paul. They could mean Mary, Paul, and Aunt Charlene. Or they could be Aunt Charlene and say just Paul. It all depends on the context of the sentence, right? So you have to be clear in your writing. You don't have to replace every noun with a pronoun. Sometimes it's going to make sense to keep them as nouns. But if you want to make your writing a bit more clear and make your writing more easy to understand, then you might want to replace nouns with pronouns. But you could confuse the reader if they don't know what they is referring to. But this is how we do it, right? So we can take any noun and we can usually replace it with a pronoun, but only if we know what we're talking about, right? So I can replace food court with it because I just heard about it here. So the word food court is fresh in my mind, the mall food court. So if you say, hey, let's go to the mall food court. It's not that busy right now. I know that it refers to the mall food court. What else could it refer to, right? So we do this stuff in conversation all the time, and we can also do it in writing, but only if it makes sense. So again, the pronoun always refers back to a noun. And that is the end of the summary questions. That's summary question 1, 2, and 3, and they help you answer key question number 1 at the end of lesson 1. And if we zoom back all the way to, I believe it's page 55. So hopefully I haven't led you astray, and I've clarified these things for you. Hopefully you can now confidently go to question 1 and answer it. So and I'm not sure if it's going to help you, but I would suggest doing this. I would have key question 1 open on my laptop or print it off in front of me, and I would have a separate piece of paper or a separate Word document, and I would write down the definition of noun. And I'm going to do a better definition than I've been doing. So the name of a person, a place, or a thing. So even though, I is a thing, I is referring to someone specifically. In this case, it is the person who's speaking this sentence. So an I, this I right here is that's a pronoun. That's not a noun, okay? The moose crossed the road in front of the car. So we're looking for places or things, okay? And you're going to circle 12 of these. And the confusion here is going to be figuring out what's a pronoun and what's a noun. That's why we put these two questions back to back, okay? So the distinction between a noun and a pronoun is really important, okay? So a noun is the name of a person, a place, or a thing. The pronoun stands in place of a person, place, or a thing. So sometimes we go home at lunch. That we, you know, what does that we refer to, right? You know, so it stands in place of someone. And then again, we have that list that you can refer back to. If you think something's a pronoun, go back to that list and look at them all. You're going to see it there, okay? So that is key question 1. Key question 2. Now, these are verbs. Again, these are the action words. These are the doing words. So most sentences in the English language have a subject, a verb, and an object. Later on in the lesson, you'll see that there's a definition of a sentence, and this is the definition they use. It's a subject, a verb, and an object. The subject is what the subject is about. So Mike is the subject, and we're going to say, so Mike teaches English. That is a 3-word sentence. Okay, so Mike teaches English. Mike is the subject of the sentence. The subject of your sentence is usually going to be a pronoun or a noun. It's going to be a thing, okay? So in this first one, the subject of the sentence, I went outside and started the barbecue. The subject is I right here. And the verb is went outside and started. There's actually 2 verbs in there. Went outside, went and started. Those are our verbs, right? Went is a verb, and so is started. So I'm giving you a little bit of hints here on that one. I won't go too far. But so the subject is what the sentence is about. The verb is what they did or are doing. And the object is what they did it to or what they are doing, right? So it's Mike teaches English. You know, Mary eats apples, right? Those are the most basic sentences in the human language, right? So the subject, and that's usually going to be a noun or a pronoun. And an object, that's also going to be a noun or a pronoun, right? So things are happening to other things, or things are doing things to other things, right? So all of these 4 examples right here, they all follow this subject, verb, object model, right? So I did something, we did something, he did something, the television, even though it's weird to say a television could do something, but in this case, you know, it's doing something, and people do something to it. They never watch it. It seems to be on. So there's usually a subject, a verb, and an object, right? So something is doing something to something else, or something to that, you know, something like that. Okay, so for key question 2, you're looking for the doing words, okay? Not who is doing something, and not what are they doing it to. It's, you know, verb equals doing. And doing is a verb, right? So that ing is a good clue, right? A lot of verbs have the ing, not all of them, but it's a good clue. You know, a verb is a doing word. It's an action. You know, it's what's happening, right? It's what makes the language come alive, right? We've only got 2 minutes left. We'll keep zooming along, right? So for these key questions, you need to make the subject and the verb agree in the sentence, okay? So subjects and verbs have to agree. I'll give you one quick example here before we end today's class. So if we could say, if we said Mike, if we said Mike teaching English, that's not correct. It doesn't sound right to your ear, right? So if I said Mike teaching English, it does not sound right to your ears. It should be Mike teaches English, right? Or we could say Mike taught English yesterday. Mike teaches English Tuesday and Wednesdays. But if we say Mike teaching English, the subject and the verb do not agree with each other. If we said Mike, let's see, if we said Mike is teaching English, then my verb is teaching makes sense with my subject, Mike. And that is where we're going to pick up next week, next Tuesday at 6 o'clock. We're going to get into this subject-verb agreement. So thanks for tuning in, everybody. It is 6:55. That's it for today. Reach out to me. Reach out to the teachers. Get in touch with us. Thanks for tuning in.